Hello, my dear students. Today's topic is angiosperm, the last class in the plant kingdom. What are the classes we have already completed? Hope you all are remembering the concepts what is learnt in the last class. In the last video, we have understood about the pteridophytes, then about the gymnosperms. Among these two classes also, what are the development we could see in the pteridophytes? They are plant having the first plant having the vascular tissues, which have from the beginning, if you see from algae to bryophytes or pteridophytes started to possess the vascular tissues. Then they also shown some of the development in the spore dispersal mechanism. Then among their leaves, they show a circinate venation, which is found only in the ferns and all. Then come to the gymnosperms. Here we understood that the name itself, it is a seed which is not covered. That is, here the seeds development is there, but it is not covered. That means here fertilization process is there, but that ovary will not cover these seeds, so they will remain exposed. So among in the gymnosperms, we have seen the large trees like redwood tree, sequoia tree. Then also they ranges from shrubs, herbs, like that. In that, some special structures we could see in the roots, that were the mycorrhiza and coralloid roots. Okay, mycorrhiza is found in cycas, where fungal association found in the roots of higher plants. And if you take the coralloid roots is a from some of the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria can be found along with the roots of the pinus. This is one special points you have to remember, where you can from this area you can expect questions for the NEET as well as for 1 mark. These are the areas. Then among the gymnosperms, there are some structures are well developed. When we take about the reproduction process, here they have well differentiated male and female reproductive organs. In some of the plant it is born on the same plant, whereas in some other plants it is born on the different plant. Can you name the plant on which the both male and female reproductive organs are found on the same plant? Yes, which is found on the hilly areas and all, which having a needle-like leaves. It is pinus. Whereas in cycas, the male and female, that cones, we call it as cones or strobili, are found on the same plant. This is one difference among the plant itself. Then if you talk about their economic importance, gymnosperms, it's a very useful plant, as it has a lot of quality in wood, so it is used for the furnitures, musical instruments, as well as it is also used for many other purposes. Okay, then also so that is the one difference we can see. Gymnosperms are not covered. Here the ovules are naked, but in the angiosperms, okay, when we come to the angiosperms, this is a difference lies. In gymnosperms, seeds are not enclosed by the fruits, but but in the case of angiosperms, the seeds are covered by fruit. That is, seeds are enclosed by the fruits. So we are going to study now one of the largest kingdom, largest category subclass under the plant kingdom, which is angiosperm, and it is also called as the flowering plants. Can you name some of the species of flowering plants? What's another name for angiosperm? It can also be called as flowering plants. You can see a wide variety of flowering plants around us, from starting with the smallest, maybe rose or sunflower. If you go with some aquatic plant, there is lotus. Then likewise many plants are there around us which can produce flowers. Okay, now this angiosperms, we can say there's exceptionally a large group of plants which occurs around wide range of habitats, and here they range in size. I just want to name a plant which is the smallest plant as well as the largest plant. This is the largest flower. Okay, so this is a flower which is microscopic in structure. So it ranges, the size is almost around nanometer. Then largest flower, it is Rafflesia. You might have heard of that. Okay, largest flower, Rafflesia. And if you talk about the largest tree, okay, largest tree is eucalyptus. So just I want to tell you, there is a range in the size form. See, angiosperms includes a wide range of plants in which it ranges from the microscopic Wolffia up to a large eucalyptus tree. Then if you talk about the economic importance of course they have wide importance in our life. So they can be used as food, fodder, then also for medicinal value also they are there, then fossil fuel. So these are some of the economic importance of the flowering plants. Now let us start to learn about their some peculiar features with respect to their reproductive organs and all. So here is a flower which represents all angiosperm where they can produce flower. We know that angiosperms are flowering plants. So typical hibiscus is a dicotyledon flower, and you know that angiosperms are divided into two categories, that is monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Here this flower, the parts of a flower, usually we classify it as essential whorl and non-essential whorl, WHORL. So here essential whorl means andrecium and gynoecium, whereas the non-essential parts are these parts. We starts with, this is a thalamus, then there is calyx, then corolla is the colored petals. Then you can see there is the powders like structures we can get if you touch this tip of this anther. So it is so each anther, that means each part of this andrecium, it consists of a anther and filament. So just to remove one anther, the filament from this, so that is one unit of a male reproductive organ. Then next about the female reproductive organ, it is, if you take the cross section of the flower, you can see it starts with, you can see there is inside the ovary there is a ovule is there. Okay, so it starts with ovary, then ovule, then there is a style and stigma. So usually if you look at this from the tip, it starts with stigma and style. Okay, stigma, you can see there's a style is there, that style is connected to the ovary, inside ovules are there. So seeds are produced inside these ovules where it is covered by the ovary. Let us talk about their structure in detail. Now this is a typical flowering plant. So if you talk about the life cycle of a angiosperm, the dominant phase is the sporophyte. Okay, the plant life cycle, the major part of the life cycle includes the sporophytic stage. Okay, so plant represents the sporophytic stage which consists of male and female reproductive units. So what is the structures are called? I said this is the andrecium, part of andrecium. See, don't get confused that again you have to study these terms again later in some other chapters. So andrecium means male reproductive unit, gynoecium means it is a female reproductive unit. So this is a male reproductive unit which consists of anther, and this is the filament. Then so this is a female reproductive unit which consists of, what are the structures I said? This is a stigma, then there is a slender part which is called as style. Okay, style means don't get confused, okay, or don't think some other style like what you do styling, that is not the style here. This elongated slender part is called as style. Then here this is a ovary and inside it has ovule. What the inside it is called as? It's called as ovule. Next, now this is a male reproductive unit, consists of anther at the tip and filament. Then female reproductive unit consists of stigma, style and ovary. Let us go into these structures now. Now, pollen grains, you know that pollen grains are produced in this anther. So in the anther, if you take this cross section, the anther will look like in this structure. Okay, so anthers, it is having the structures. In case of hibiscus I am mentioning, so they have like this sac-like structures are there, okay, in which the pollen grains are formed. So that each structure is called as microsporangium. Those structures, just cut that, just imagine the flower. This is a anther. So suppose if you cut like this, you will get a section. So that section, it's in microscopic view. Okay, so that will look like this. So one of the structure is enlarged here and shown. So that structure is called as microsporangium, in which the pollen grains are produced. So in this, the microspores are produced. So here, that undergoes this microsporangium. Okay, so what is the condition of this microsporangium? They are diploid in condition, so they undergoes meiosis. The microsporangia inside this anther contains microspore mother cell. What does it contains? It contains microspore mother cell. That means a cell which is different from others, which undergoes meiotic division. So that one of the cell from this microsporangium, which is called as microspore mother cell, undergoes meiosis and produces pollen. Yes, pollen grain. Later we call these structures as microspore. They are called as microspore, which is haploid in nature. Okay, so they are haploid in nature. So this microsporangia inside the anther contains microspore mother cell, which undergoes meiotic division and produces the microspore. And these anthers following meiosis, okay, that is a, so anther, they that contains this microsporangium, they undergoes meiosis and produces microspore, and this is how the structure of a pollen grain will look. We can call it as pollen grain, or technically in biological term we'll call it as microspore. This is how a pollen grain will look. Some students might have observed some of the structures of pollen grain of some species of flowering plants. So you might have noticed how the structures will appear. So they have variety of structures can be found on different plants of pollen grains of different plants. So typically this is how a pollen grain will appear. In case of this is a mustard plant. There's a plant which is taken here. It is a mustard plant. From that, pollen grains will appear like this. Okay, so here this pollen grain then later come and fuse with this ovule. So let us go with the studying about the internal structure of a ovary. So ovary contains ovule, I said. So here it is called as microsporangium, but in case of female reproductive unit, it is known as megasporangium. It is called as megasporangium. It's called as megasporangium. Here you can see the ovary is enlarged here. The ovary part is enlarged and it is shown here. So pistil. So what this structure we call it as? Altogether we can term this structure as pistil. It's another name for this female reproductive unit. It's altogether it can be called as pistil. Then this pistil consists of ovary enclosing many ovules, and within these ovules there is a highly reduced gametophyte is present. Okay, within these ovules highly reduced female gametophyte is present, and it is termed as embryo sac. Okay, so within this ovary this highly reduced embryo sac is there. So within the ovule this is an embryo sac structure. where this embryo sac is present? The embryo sac is present inside the ovary. So, where is the ovary is present? Ovary is part of pistil. Inside that is called as megasporangium. So, within the ovules, there is a highly reduced female gametophyte, which is termed as embryo sac. So, how this embryo sac is formed? So, again the same process continues here also. The similar process what we have seen in the case of formation of pollen grains. Here that the ovary, the megasporangium contains number of cells. In that one of the cell, that's a megaspore mother cell, undergoes meiosis and produces the structures. Now, this structure is not simple as of a pollen grain. It has many cells inside. Okay, what are those cells? Let us understand now. See, there is a 3-celled egg apparatus. So, there is this structure. Okay, here we'll label it. This is a 3-celled egg apparatus is there. 3-celled egg apparatus, RATUS. 3-cell egg apparatus. Then in the middle there is a 2 secondary polar nuclei. Secondary polar nuclei. Then there are 3 synergids. So there are 3-celled egg apparatus, 1 egg cell and 2 synergids and 3 antipodals. Okay, this is the antipodals. So detailed structure you will study in the second year. In the second PU, you have these structures to study again. So you need not to study in detail now. Just you have to understand that inside the embryo sac, which is located inside the ovule, there is how many structures are there? 3 antipodals, then 2 secondary polar nuclei, and there is a 3-celled egg apparatus is there. So here the embryo sac formation is preceded by meiosis. So by what process this structure has formed? This is by the process of meiosis. So again here also the same process has underwent. Here also through the process of meiosis only this microspore is produced. Likewise here also from the megasporangium through the meiosis this embryo sac is formed. Then here let us understand, here there is a 2 polar nuclei said, right? So when they get fused and forms a diploid secondary polar nucleus. Later they fuse together and forms a 2 diploid secondary nucleus. Just nothing like, it's like there are 2 nuclei will be there in the middle, polar nuclei. They call us polar nuclei. They fuse together. Since they are nearby, later they fuse together and forms a diploid secondary nucleus. Now, let us understand about the fertilization. How the fertilization occurs in a angiosperm, which is we call it as a double fertilization. What is a fertilization in angiosperm is called as? It is called as double fertilization, which is a unique event for the angiosperm. So what is double fertilization? And it is just you have to write an elaborate note for this double fertilization. You can expect the question for 5 marks and all. So let me write what is a double fertilization first. It is an unique event. It is an unique event in the angiosperms. The double fertilization you cannot see any other plant. This fertilization, which is double fertilization, is found only among these angiosperms. So what happens here? See, pollen grains, once they are released from the anther, once they dehisce, that means once the flowers get mature, these anthers will be open up and they will release the pollen grains. At once they will release thousands of pollen grains, and so these pollen grains are carried by air or carried by wind or can be carried by birds, insects. That process is called as pollination. So there are pollinating agents are many are there. Now, once that pollen grains are released from that, they will release and they will get deposited on the stigma. Okay, so we will about the fertilization process.